One of the most common pieces of retirement advice you'll hear is this: wait as long as possible to claim Social Security. And for many people, that's great advice. But I've also seen situations where waiting would have been a costly mistake. In fact, I've sat down with retirees where claiming at 62 was by far the better financial decision. The problem is, most people never hear that side of the conversation. They're told the rules, they're not shown the exceptions. And in retirement planning, these exceptions really matter. Now, before I give you these three situations, let me mention one rule that surprises almost everyone. It's called the earnings test. And if you haven't heard about this, you really want to pay attention. If you claim Social Security before your full retirement age and you're still going to work and earn W-2 income, your Social Security benefit may be temporarily reduced or even go away completely until your full retirement age, if your earnings exceed certain limits. Now, that's a mouthful. This is complex, but I just want to put this on your radar. It doesn't mean that that Social Security money is going to be gone forever, but it does mean claiming earlier and putting a plan around having Social Security and continuing to work before full retirement age many times isn't as straightforward as people think. Now, we're going to get back to that in a few minutes. Now, imagine two retirees. Both qualify for Social Security and both hear the same advice: wait until 70. But with these two people, when you dig into their situation, one should wait and one absolutely shouldn't wait. Yet they're both being told the same thing. And that's where the problems begin, because retirement planning isn't about following rules. It's about understanding which rules are going to apply in your situation. Now, the blind spot here, and there's a couple blind spots. One is believing that there's a perfect claiming age. It really relies on what type of situation you're in, what your assets are, and where you're at, and what your goals are. The second thing is believing that when you claiming Social Security doesn't matter. Both are massive blind spots. And in all financial situations, there's trade-offs. But sometimes the best decision is doing the opposite of what everyone else around you has done or is suggesting you do. Now, there's in these three situations that I talked about, let's get into them on when claiming at 62 makes a lot of sense. Number one, let's start with the most obvious situation. You want or you need the income. Not because they failed or made mistakes, but because that's what Social Security was designed to do, to provide income. If delaying Social Security forces you to create unnecessary stress or to take on massive debt or to dramatically reduce your quality of life, claiming earlier may be the financial better decision. Now, if you have large pensions or more than enough income to pay your bills, starting Social Security and retiring early may also be the right thing to do. The goal here isn't about maximizing your Social Security check. The goal is to maximize your retirement lifestyle. And those are not always the same thing, right? Number two, this is always about health. If someone has a significantly shorter life expectancy due to health, waiting may not produce the benefit most people assume. The break-even math on this changes, and sometimes receiving benefits earlier when there's significant health challenges or a shorter life expectancy can be definitely the right and better decision. So generic advice can be really dangerous in this situation. This math doesn't happen in a vacuum. Real people have real circumstances, and these circumstances matter. Number three, I've worked with couples where one spouse retired earlier than the other. And when you looked at the situation and when we ran the numbers, it made a lot of sense to start one of the Social Security benefits earlier, which allowed one person to retire. They didn't have to pull from their investments before they were ready. And the goal here as well wasn't to maximize the Social Security check. It was to protect the assets that needed more time to grow. And that's an important distinction. Many people assume that the goal is always to get the biggest monthly benefit possible. And that is one lens that can be accurate if that's your goal. Sometimes that is a good way to look at it, but many times it isn't. Many times the better question is, what role is Social Security going to play with the rest of your plan and your lifestyle? Social Security is connected to your investments, your income needs, your taxes, and your retirement timeline. And in some situations, retiring early or claiming early can create flexibility elsewhere in the plan. Now, let's get back to the earnings test. Remember that if you're working and you claim Social Security before your full retirement age, your benefit may be temporarily reduced or completely go away if your earnings exceed the annual limit. That's why claiming at 62 simply because you can isn't always the right answer. It's another reminder that Social Security isn't a one-size-fits-all decision. It needs to fit the rest of the plan. Now let's talk about some numbers and some differences that I think will help you kind of think through this a little bit deeper. Imagine one retiree claims Social Security at 62 and gets $2,000 a month. And another one claims at 70 and their benefit is now going to be $3,500. So that's $1,500 more per month by waiting that time. That's a huge difference, right? But the person who claimed early received checks for 8 additional years. So they start at 62, the other waited till 70. That's almost 100 payments they received, nearly $200,000 in this specific situation. That's many times the numbers that people don't look at more closely. Does that mean everyone should just jump out there and claim at 62? Of course not. It simply means there isn't one right answer. It depends on your health, your goals. Do you still like your job, your income needs, your spouse, your surviving spouse, your assets? That's what's important, is how this fits into an overall plan. Now, if you're approaching Social Security and wondering which claiming strategy makes sense for your situation, that's exactly the type of conversation that we have in what we call a retirement review. The link is below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.